What's up, you guys? I swear, every time I pick up my camera and come outside to do a video, we get the most random, out of the blue thunderstorm. Like, it's to the point where it's just comical. Like right now, I'm getting like rained on, and it's been 100 degrees here. So one, it makes me think I need to bring my camera outside every time I get ready to water. That way the earth will just do it for me. This is so wild. Anyway, so I get asked so many questions on here, on Instagram, on just a video on how to prune tomatoes. This is going to be pretty basic. I'm not going to go in a lot of depth on it. Just real quick, what I do, why it's important. So let's go take a look. So as you can see, here is my tomato plant. Now I've got it twine on it and it's hooked up to that conduit, but I take off majority of the bottom foliage, as you guys can see where there were limbs, and I will continuously do this, and some that come up down here I'm going to rip those out as well. And as you can see, I let all mine go to 2 liters, so that is pretty much what all of my tomatoes look like. So they're 2 liters, and then I tie up each of those liters. These are much bushier than I typically do. I've not been out here in probably like a week and a half, you guys, to prune. One of the reasons I prune so heavily is that it allows good air circulation. I don't have a lot of disease problems. And then also, anytime you don't prune, so in the armpit of your plant is your sucker. That sucker will produce more fruit, and that is just, even I did a quick tip video on cucumbers, and they're very similar. Anytime a sucker comes out, your plant, so the main 2 stems of your plant, instead of putting into that fruit, making that fruit larger, produce better and things like that, is putting all that energy into trying to sustain another part of this plant that is trying to produce another plant. So it might seem complicated, but it's pretty straightforward. Each sucker, and I'll turn the camera around and show you guys, each plant will produce a sucker in the armpit. If you do not prune that, then that's going to create another plant. That's energy that your main plant is putting into something other than the fruit that it's producing. So when you look at it that way, sometimes pruning can be a pain in the butt, especially when I'm out here all day doing it. And I'm thinking, well, if I just take the time to do this, then I'm going to have much larger fruit. I'm going to have less problems with my plant. So at the end of the day, if you could just do a little bit each day instead of like waiting like I am, like now I've waited a week and a half. I'm going to have to come out here and spend like all day pruning. It's a lot easier to stay on top of, and it doesn't honestly seem like that bad of a chore. Woo, look at that wind. Alright, so this is one that has gotten away from me. So this is the main stem of the plant. This is what I would consider the armpit. This is what has produced a sucker. Even when they're this big, you can just yank them off. But if I can take this and I can root this in water and it'll grow roots, and I can have a tomato plant that costs me $3. So that's one option. Or you can compost it, which is what I do, because obviously your girl don't need any more tomato plants. But if I were to have left this, it would have started producing blooms and blossoms. And so here is one that's small, and I just go through with my fingers and pinch those. I think I saw, oh, so this one's a bit bigger. Whoop. Goodness. So just go through and take those off. And it's just the easiest way whenever I was learning and trying to figure this out is in the armpit. Right here. This is what's going to grow your suckers. My tomatoes are a big deal to me, so typically I don't let my kids come out here, but I was feeling a little extra nice, and it was like, ah, sure, why not? So they'd actually pruned off the main stem, and then this is what happens. Tomatoes are so resilient, you guys. They're just so easy. So it was topped, and it literally just started regrowing. Like, it's just regrowing a whole new plant. So that's really encouraging, and just know if you do accidentally top it, just leave it in the ground and let it regrow. Here are some more, and like I said, when you get them at this size, they're just so much easier. So much easier, and your plant is just absolutely gonna love you. So just as you're going through checking your fruit and all this stuff, just find the suckers and rip them out. Here's actually a good example of one that is setting fruit. So main stem, leaf, sucker. It's come all the way up, started producing blooms. Now at this point you could leave it if you didn't care, or you can go ahead and take it out. I'm probably gonna leave it because this would be probably the size that I'd want to use pruners, and I don't have those on hand. So I'm just gonna leave it, but I'll probably come back and still prune that off. I also really like to just go through and clip off unnecessary foliage, and what that looks like to me is going through and seeing like this looks like a lot. It looks like I've got some fruit that may not be ripening because there's too many leaves, and I'm just gonna go through, and the leaves that aren't doing anything, they're just foliage, I'm gonna go through with pruners or with my fingers, and I'm just going to cut them off. Again, pretty straightforward. As long as it does not have fruit on it, then you should be good. So I literally just cut that off, and I'm gonna keep doing that, and what that's doing is just allowing, so look, you can already kind of see just by me trimming these few off how much better this plant's able to breathe. So it's unnecessary, it's not doing anything. So go through, cut them off. Now look at that, that looks so much cleaner. This fruit that had been shielded by all of that foliage will now ripen faster, and it just allows better airflow. Look at that, that looks so much better. Just a little side by side. All right, it's pretty simple. Look at this plant behind me. Just by, and I'll turn the camera around and show you guys, but just by the side view, you can see how much cleaner this plant looks. Now, y'all know I am a heavy pruner, so what I'm showing you is heavy pruning. If you're afraid of sun scald, like I leave leaves at the topper part just so that my tomatoes aren't getting scalded by the sun. It's usually nothing that I have a problem with, and you guys know I'm growing in Arkansas zone 7B, and I'm still usually pretty okay. I've had no plants or no actual tomatoes be damaged from sun scald, and I'm showing you just how I do it. Look at that pretty tomato plant. So as you guys can see, I took off most of the foliage going all the way up, and then as we got to the top, I left it a bit, and that's because there's no fruit on here, and it's still trying to set blooms, as you guys can see. So we're still trying to set some fruit. So I'm just not really worried about the top. I'm just wanting these that actually has the fruit. That's what I'm worried about. And then as they continue to set fruit up, I'll continue to prune up. So there's a good little look at them. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple. I hope this was helpful to you guys. I hope that it just kind of opened your eyes on not being afraid to prune. I know a lot of people that it's just scary. They're afraid they might top their plant. They're afraid that they're taking too much off. It kind of is just a experiment. Play around, see what works well for you in your growing zone, but just know, even if you do top it, like I said, it will regrow. And that was something that was kind of just like, it gave me a sigh of relief. Like, I'm not gonna kill it. It would take a lot to kill it. It will just regrow. So be mindful of that. Be encouraged that it takes a lot to screw it up. And I hope this was helpful. I'll talk to y'all soon.